Okay, hello everybody. Today is, September 19th. It's about 10:30 in the morning here in Japan, which makes it, for you folks in the States, September 18th in the evening. So if it's 10:30 here, it's somewhere around 7 to 8:30, where most of you are, unless you're on the West Coast. Okay, let's see. This is going to be Big Lair's Thursday crypto and news update. I read a lot of different newspapers every day, a lot of websites. I'm in a new location here. Hopefully the sound is all right. I'm near a window, as you can see. Probably it's a little bit better lighting than before. But I have a busy street in front of me, so we'll see how it goes with all the traffic and stuff, traffic noise. Okay, and hopefully the mic's working all right. So yeah, I'm reading a lot of stuff every day about cryptos and news. I think once last year I did some calculations, and I read every day over 100 pages of news, like full pages. If you took a news article and pasted it into Word, like a normal, 8.5 by 11, or for those of you on the metric system, an A4 size piece of paper, I'm reading about 100, little over 100 every day. So I go through a lot of material. And I thought I would just give you some updates on things that I think are interesting about cryptos. Hey, remember about 3 days ago, I believe it was, I talked about cryptos, cryptos that I thought were maybe good for trading. Okay, I've got some numbers here now. I was talking about Tezos, NEO, OMG, and EOS. And I was saying that I noticed these coins had some very clear ups and downs, and they'd be good for trading. Well, let's see. As of September 16th, Tezos was $1, around the dollar. I'm going to say $1, and I see today it's $1.08. It was $1.10 when I woke up earlier this morning, but I see now it's down to 108. So, that's an 8 to 10% increase in 3 days. That's pretty decent if you were trading it. And then NEO was exactly $8.98 the other day when I did my video. Today it's $9.98. So we're looking at 11% increase in NEO. Pretty decent. OMG was $1.04 the other day. Today it's $1.15. So that gives us a 10% increase. Pretty awesome, just a couple days there. Okay, sorry about that. I had someone walk in on me while I was doing this. So I've been talking about OMG. Yeah, OMG had a 10% increase. EOS was $3.98 the other day. Now I see it's hovering around $4.08. Not a big increase, so EOS isn't doing much. If we look at Bitcoin is flat. I've heard some people say it's frozen, right? It's around 10,200 range when I looked this morning. Bitcoin Cash, that was $303 the other day. It's $323 right now. So that's about a 6.5% increase. Not too bad. Of course, a lot of these coins are down significantly from where they were several months ago. Maybe some of you bought a number of coins 3 to 4 months ago, thinking those were the lows, and they've gone down significantly since then. That's not too pleasant. Let's see, Stellar was really down. Stellar was around the 5-cent range. I think now it jumped back up to 7 cents, and everyone's excited. Ripple was around the 26 cent range. Looks like it's up to 30 cents right now. So that's pretty nice. Anyway, I just wanted to, go over those 4 coins that I had talked about, OMG, Tezos, NEO, and EOS, as being coins that, had some pretty distinct ups and downs. And 3 of those 4, Tezos, NEO, and OMG, are looking pretty good. If you had bought in well, if you had bought in just 3 days ago when I mentioned it, you're already up around 10% for those coins. Tezos, 8 to 10%, depending on when you're looking at the pricing. And NEO, 11%. So not bad, huh? Okay, now I'm going to move on to some crypto news. I saw a pretty fun article here. Let's see, where is it? Oh, the article title is Ripple's XRP now available to over 80 million people in Japan. I read that and thought, what the hell? That's bullshit. And then when you go on to read the article, because Ripple's been available in Japan on exchanges for at least the last 2 years and maybe 3 years, you know. I wasn't here 3 years ago. I was in Malaysia, so I'm not sure what was going on, but I've talked to people who bought Ripple more than 2 years ago. So what's this article talking about? Oh, what it is there's an app. You know, in America, some people use an app called WhatsApp. It's a messaging app. You can, call on it. You can send photos, text, files. In Japan, they use one called Line, L-I-N-E, Line, and it's the Asian version of WhatsApp. I have it on my phone. It's very annoying. You get all these advertisements all the time. Oh, it's just I personally don't like it, but it's popular with Japanese. On WhatsApp, I'm not a huge user of that either, but you have some pretty nice looking, what is it? Avatars or GIFs or whatever you want to call them. Pictures you can put in when you answer someone. The ones online are just horrible. Oh, Jesus. Like, who designed these things, Anyway, so what this article is this app Line. They're now getting ready to, let's see, they're going to launch BitMax, which is a crypto trading and an exchange platform. So you'll be able to do that through this Line app, supposedly. They want to make trading digital currencies very easy for anyone, even if you have no experience. They're going to have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Bitcoin Cash, and Litecoin. That's kind of interesting when you see the exchange. They only picked those 5 coins, probably because they think they're the top coins. They'll have the biggest adoption. Years ago, when I first checked out some exchanges in Japan, they had Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Litecoin, Lisk, and Monacoin. Monacoin's that cat coin, right? It hasn't done much. It really dropped down. I think it's around $1 now. And Lisk, I don't know anything about Lisk. I've never looked at it. So I always thought it was pretty interesting to see what coins these exchanges have chosen. One thing with the Japanese exchanges, I didn't mention this the other day, is that let's say you had, because Litecoin split like more than a year ago, right? If you had Litecoin on exchanges, they did not give you the new Litecoin Classic or whatever that coin was called, that forked off of Litecoin. The exchanges here, they keep all of those themselves. And I even, on behalf of someone, help them email an exchange saying, hey, where's my coins? This thing split and I've got this many. And they were never replied to. Now, when this person had emailed the exchange about other issues, like, hey, what happened? I purchased these coins and then I wanted to send them and it's taking more than a day. That kind of stuff always got an immediate email response. But when they asked about Litecoin on 3 separate occasions, sent emails, silence from this exchange. So I don't have any respect for the exchanges in Japan. So we'll see how this new BitMax thing goes. I'm guessing. Oh, and you have to be, on this exchange, you have to be 20 years old. They have an age limit between the ages of 20 and 74. So I guess if you're older than 74, they figure you're not of sound enough mind to buy and exchange cryptocurrencies. That's quite interesting. And if you're not 20, you're not sharp enough mentally, or you don't have enough experience in life to be doing this kind of thing, which is also interesting, isn't it? Okay, enough about that. Let's see. I'm going to just get rid of this. make it easier for me to look here. North Korea is in the news. They will be developing a cryptocurrency that will be, quote, more like Bitcoin. I hear a lot of news about North Korea just because I'm in Japan. We're so close. Through the years, a lot of Japanese have been abducted by North Korean spies, North Korean agents, whatever you want to call them. And interestingly enough, the Japanese government, as far as I know, has never sent any rescue missions to get these abductees back. And some of these people have been there more than 20 years. Their families know that they're still alive. You know, they've received correspondence now from them. There was a prime minister named Koizumi. He had kind of wild hair like Einstein, and he was a fan of Elvis. He actually put out an Elvis, like songs I love of Elvis's or something. Someone gave it to me as a gift because I like Elvis. Kind of a collector's type thing. Anyway, that prime minister, for whatever reason, was able to go to North Korea and negotiate with them and brought a few of these abductees back. But then the rest of the people, it's just like a non-issue. And I've never understood why the Japanese government has not gone back and really pushed hard. Hey, you took these people. These are Japanese citizens. What's the deal? Can't they send over some, in the States, we've got like Navy SEALs and these black ops groups. Isn't there anyone in Japan with a decent amount of money who could say, hey, I'll pay for this whole thing to get these people back? There's got to be groups out there, soldiers of fortune, guys that if you had a certain amount of money, they would go anywhere in the world and bring someone back for you. So I've never understood this whole abductee thing with North Korea. It's beyond my pay grade, I guess. But so North Korea is developing a cryptocurrency similar to Bitcoin. It's going to help them get around these sanctions that have been placed on them by the US and Japan and different countries. So pretty interesting. There has been some news over the last 6 to 9 months here in Japan that they think hackers in North Korea are involved in hacking some of these big exchanges in Japan, and they may be responsible for hacking the NEM. There was over $500 million worth of NEM coins hacked. The Mt. Gox hack, no one has said that was North Korea. And then this other one, smaller, 32 million or something, that was hacked. That hasn't been talked about much, but I have seen reports in the Japanese press, in the Japanese language, not in English, that allude to the fact that they think the North Koreans have hackers who are hacking exchanges and individuals who have large amounts of cryptocurrencies. So that's pretty interesting. Okay, so that's that. North Korea. Working on that. What's next here? Oh, Binance. Yeah, Binance. That's a pretty awesome exchange. They've got their Project Venus stablecoin. Have you heard about this? They're calling it a government-friendly Libra competitor. So that's pretty cool, Binance. So this new stablecoin called Venus, I think is pretty interesting. The name is Venus as opposed to Facebook's Libra, right? And I would guess if our friend Aura, our crypto astrologer and psychic, if she were to, I'm sure if I mentioned this to her, she would say, oh yeah, they chose the name Venus for this reason and that reason, and it's significant, for all of these things. So let's see if we hear from Aura about this, because I'm guessing it's, they haven't just chosen that name off the top of their heads, right? It was well thought out. Okay. And I've read a little bit about this Venus. They're going to make it like a stable coin. Let's see, I'm trying to skim this article here. I thought I read something several weeks ago saying that this Venus stablecoin could be put into various equal to certain fiat currencies in the world. It wouldn't just be a US dollar one. It could be pegged to other fiat currencies. So let's see how that plays out. That's pretty interesting, huh? Okay, what do I have next? Oh yeah, this is pretty interesting here. Let's see, I'm going to skip that. I'm going to jump to blockchain transparencies. I got a list of things here. Blockchain transparency. Someone recently moved $30 million of Ripple into an over-the-counter wallet. And then someone else noticed that $78 million worth of Bitcoin was moved recently. How are we able to know these things? Well, the blockchains are transparent, right? You can go and see what's being moved around. And I wonder what the powers that be / the banksters, what they think about that, because until now, think of all the transactions in the world that have gone unnoticed or were done secretly. They've got these stupid anti-money laundering rules in place. What a joke that is, I might have mentioned in a previous video years ago, I sent some money to America from Japan for my grandma to get some glasses. It's like $200 or something, and the bank manager said I had to fill out these anti-money laundering forms. It was like 3-4 pages long, and I said to the guy, "Are you kidding me? You really think I'm money laundering $200 to my grandma to buy glasses?" And he said, "Oh, everyone has to do this." And I said, if I was money laundering, I'd probably be working with organized crime in Japan. Do you think I would come to your bank to do that? There are so many other ways to send money, and it wouldn't be $200. It'd be like 2 million or 20 million or 200 million. I said, "Man, you're going after the wrong people. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard." And of course, that poor manager, he's not the guy who decided this dumbass law. It's the politicians or whoever, just placing more constraints on regular citizens, right? The criminals, the real criminals, they're not going through any of this. So that's one good thing about cryptocurrencies is there's transparency. We may not know who was sent that $30 million in Ripple to their over-the-counter wallet, and we may not know who received the $78 million in Bitcoin, but it's more transparent than things are now. That's my point. Let's see, what else is in the news? Of course, Libra's in the news. I just mentioned Venus being a competitor to Libra. It's funny, lots of banks in Europe are unhappy with this. In fact, what was it? The European Central Bank, I forget what the title of that guy is. Whoever's in charge of the European Central Bank was saying it's a wake-up call. Libra is a wake-up call for banks. That's pretty interesting. Finally these guys are catching on to what's happening in the world. Libra coin, what are they saying? You're going to have custodial wallets. Is that what it is? They want to keep it all within a system. It's not going to be like normal cryptocurrencies, right? Okay, I won't go into that because I'm not really interested in Libra, and maybe some of you know a lot more about it than I do. Okay, next on my list is getting into, I think we can move into some economic news here. Let's see, cannabis and hemp. Now that's something I've been wanting to get into for 2 years as far as a business and investment. I've followed the industry quite closely. I'm familiar with some people who have companies in it. And when I was in Malaysia, I had this really good chiropractor, this Canadian guy. Very good chiropractor. And we were talking one time, and this was just when the Canadian government had passed, they had voted and said, okay, we're going to allow legalization of cannabis. And so I had an appointment with this guy, and I tried to go to a chiropractor a couple times a year because I did a lot of heavy powerlifting, and powerlifting can put some strains and stresses on you, so it's good to get an adjustment of your vertebrae, make sure everything's lined up. Anyway, this guy said to me, well, this may be the last time you see me, Larry. And I said, oh, really? You're going to move? And he said, well, if Canada, they just legalized this, and I'm trying to find the details out. And he said, I've got a 200-acre farm that I inherited from my parents. And he said, if this I'm just checking, all the legal issues, crossing the T's, dotting the I's, and if this is what I think it is, I'm leaving Malaysia, going to Canada, and I'm going to get into the cannabis industry. I've got 200 acres that I could be building greenhouses and doing this and that. And he said, if it's what I think it is, in 6 months, I won't be here. And so I don't know if he's still there or not, but that was quite funny that I was interested in it and researching it, and then he told me that. There are a number of stocks, good stocks, in the cannabis and hemp industry. Of course, it's legalized in how many states in America? I know Colorado and California has something about it, right? I don't know if any other states have done anything with it. Makes sense to me. The government can make a lot more money through taxation than through trying to, think of all the people in prisons and jails for like misdemeanor marijuana charges. Some guy got caught with a little bit. He gets put into the system, gets put into the prison system. How expensive is that? And then you get in the prison system, oh man, now you're in a totally different world, depending on where you get sent. If you're a white guy like me, you got to hook up with all the white guys in that prison, and it may be, you may be in a system where all the whites are white supremacists. So now you got to join a white supremacist group just to survive in prison. And, it's segregated, right? It's not like things are in the real world. They've got rules and you better abide by them. And you might go in on a misdemeanor marijuana charge, and then before you know it, you're told, hey, you've got to, go do that to that guy there because we said so. And if you don't, you're going to get stabbed or the crap beat out of you. So, your simple, 1 or 2 year misdemeanor marijuana charge could get jacked up really fast to, get an extra 5 years, 10 years added onto your sentence. Why? Because you're in this horrible environment now from this small, this misdemeanor charge. So your life can really change. And think about that. Someone who shouldn't be in the system is in the system, and now they're going to get put in a situation where they may be put in the system longer. Man, I mean, the prisons, why do you think they're being privatized? Because they're so damn expensive. I remember years ago, this was when I was in high school, we had to do a study for sociology class. Man, I've been out of high school for over 30 years. And our teacher had some information for us that each prisoner in the state of Wisconsin, at least, in those 30 years ago, was costing taxpayers $70,000 a year, each person incarcerated. So what is it today? It must be well over $100,000. So in my mind, the whole cannabis hemp thing, it makes sense legalizing it. And there may be someone who disagrees with that, and I'm fine with that if someone disagrees. I'm just looking at it from the overall health benefits versus all the costs and negativity of imprisoning people for these things. Now, I'm not saying it's okay to go out and grow this stuff and sell it to kids. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying if you're a responsible adult and you make the decision yourself, that should be okay, right? It should be legalized and regulated. Of course, that would also ensure a certain quality standard, right? Okay, next. So let's see here. Let me just jump to the next article. Yeah, I wasn't aware that the workers at GM are going to go on strike on September 16th. Just 3 days ago, 50,000 workers, GM workers, walked off their job in the first strike since 2007. I was really surprised by that. They're saying the plants are idle and their wages are too low. And let's see, last year, what do we have? 8,000 workers at Marriott hotels go on strike. Let's see. Earlier this year, we had supermarket employees in the Northeast. 31,000 people went on strike. You've had tens of thousands of teachers in the last year go on strike. And I've been in education, I've been a teacher for over 20 years, so for me that kind of hits home, when I hear how things are. I'm from Wisconsin. Wisconsin's a messed up state when it comes to teachers. The previous governor, man, really changed things. I think it was changed not for the better. And the thing is, when you're the owner of a company and when you're a worker of the company, you have very different viewpoints on things. I remember the last GM strike in 2007, and I was having a talk. I was in Japan here, and I was with some auto executives, like we'll say the Toyota Group, some executives from the Toyota Group, and we were talking about this strike, and I was saying, my God, why would GM want to go on a strike? They've been on a strike for so many weeks. They're not producing cars. They're losing X amount of dollars. And one of these executives said to me, well, the big issue for the company is the pension fund. And he said, you got to look at the pension fund, and if they give the workers this salary increase and these other benefits that the workers want, it's going to mean more than $4 billion in future obligations for the company. So he said, GM is looking at that $4 billion. So right now they're okay taking the hit on, losing millions of dollars a day because they're trying to save $4 billion. And in the end, what happened? The workers gave up. The workers don't have the financial power that GM does. If you're a regular worker, how many paychecks can you miss before you got to get back to work? You got a house payment. You got kids in school, kids in college. You got, even if you work at GM, maybe you bought a car and you got a car loan. So you have lots of financial obligations that you have to meet. So the average person, I'm guessing, if you're out of work a month or 2 months, you're probably starting to hurt. Whereas GM is thinking, oh, wow, 2 months, that's $60 million we lost, but we're going to save $4 billion over here. They're not, they could go for a year and not care about it, right? They're still way ahead. So when you're the owner of a business, you look at things very differently. Sad to see that GM workers are in this situation. However, as I said, I have been the owner of a business before, so I am able to look at things differently. And unfortunately, you work for someone else. This is part of the game, right? Now, back around the turn of the century in 1900, over 90% of Americans worked for themselves. Isn't that interesting? Over 90% worked for themselves in 1900. And I would say now, what is the percentage? It's probably 90% work for someone else. So working for someone else, you're at the mercy of that person or that company. So that's just, unfortunately, it's part of the game. Okay, moving on to Burger King. This is a fun story here. Burger King. This has to do with sustainability. My MBA is in sustainability. It's a fascinating topic. Of course, sustainability is, thinking ahead to the future. You don't want to use up all the resources. You don't want to pollute the environment. You got to start thinking about all the impacts on water and air and people's lives in general, right? So this story comes out of the BBC in the UK. So I don't know if this is just a story for the UK or if it's going to be a worldwide thing. This is Burger King. It says, Burger King will no longer give away plastic toys with children's meals because of pressure to reduce plastic waste. Okay. Now we got 2 kids to thank for this. 2 kids. This is awesome. We got Ella, age 9, and Caitlin McEwen, age 7. And they called for companies to quote. This is a quote from these 2 little girls here. Think of the environment and stop giving plastic toys with the kids' meals. And these little kids went out and got over 500,000 signatures of people who agree with them. And these girls wrote that children only play with the plastic toys they give us for a few minutes before they get thrown away and then harm animals and pollute the sea. Awesome. And these kids said, hey, why can't you give away stuff that's made from sustainable materials? Yeah. So a shout out to Ella and Caitlin McEwen there. let's see, they're from Hampshire. I don't know much about England. My apologies. I'm not really good with geography. Being from America, hey, we didn't learn about the geography of England, you guys. I do know that Great Britain is made up of 4 countries, but I'd have a hard time finding Hampshire on the map. You'd have to give me a minute, okay? Nothing against you 2 kids. That's just the reality of it. My respect goes out to you guys for standing up for what you think is right, putting companies in their place. Yeah, what are they giving these damn plastic toys away for? These kids are right. Kids play with them for a few seconds, throw them away. There's a sushi restaurant, a conveyor belt sushi restaurant here in Japan. If you eat 5 plates of sushi and you put them in the machine near your table, you may get a tiny plastic toy. Not every time. It's like a little game that plays, and if you win the game, you get this little crappy plastic toy. Same kind of thing. What are they doing that for? They're just trying to, because they know parents come in with kids and the kids are whiny. They don't want to sit there, but they might be able to get this crappy plastic toy that's probably worth, I don't know, 1 or 2 cents at the most. And then what happens? It gets thrown away and everybody else has to deal with it. Why should we have to be responsible for the waste these companies are producing? I've always thought if you sell a product, you had better be ready to take that product back when it's done. When the life cycle of that product has come to an end, you should be taking it back. And I often do that in Japan. If I buy something at a store, I'll bring that empty plastic container back and throw it away there. I've been given a hard time several times by workers or managers, and I've just said to them, hey, your company is selling this product. You've priced, this container, you've priced the cost of the container into this product. You've probably also priced in the throwing away of this thing, right? And if you haven't, you better start doing it. It's your responsibility. It's not my responsibility. I wasn't the guy who said, put this in a plastic container with a paper label that I can't take off. Some of these things, it's like a milk carton with a plastic cap, and they want you to take the plastic cap off and throw it away over here, and the milk carton has to get washed out, flattened down, and thrown away over here. And my thing is, hey, start making products easier, So that's my rant about sustainability. Awesome, Ella and Caitlin McEwen. Way to go, kids. We need more kids like you. Okay, let's see. Do I have anything else here? I want to just go through all my notes to make sure I've hit everything. Yeah, I think that's it. So this has been Big Lair's Thursday crypto and news update. I hope everybody's doing great. I'm not sure what the weather is around the world. Here in Japan, looks rainy today. It probably looks kind of bright where I am, but I'm sitting in front of this huge, 8 foot by 10 foot window. 8 feet by 10 feet is what, 3 meters by 2.4 meters, I think. So a pretty big window. But we got some rain coming in. It is getting cooler though. We had temperatures in the lower to mid 90s the last week. It's been very hot, high humidity. Finally today, I think we're dipping down into the upper 70s. Let's see, when does fall start? The 23rd, around the 23rd of September. So we got one more week before we can say fall is here. Hopefully that'll cool things down. Okay, that's all I have for you guys. If you have any questions or comments, please, please put them down below, and don't forget to hit the like button. Yeah, that's about all I got. Okay, and tell me how you like my new studio here. Okay, everyone take care.